So we are here on location at your place. So thank you for having us. Cheers to shaking shit up.
Cheers to shaking shit up. Touring for literally my favorite artist has been a dream of mine since I was a kid, practicing the drums. And when the goddesses give you the thing that you're praying for, you have to protect it with your whole heart.
I have to admit something, okay? And she's looking a little shocked right now. I might need to take a sip of my drink.
Anyone who's in a position of privilege, one of the biggest mistakes that I think they make is not even believing that the stories of the oppressed are true.
Yeah, thank you so much for refilling my glass.
This is so fun. I don't think I've ever played a drinking game.
Really? This is awesome.
Stand up, rise up, peace signs up, now what's up? Stand up, rise up, peace signs up, now what's up? Stand up, rise up.
And welcome to Jampacked. I'm your host, Kehlani, and I have quite a special treat for y'all today. She is an electronic music artist. She's an activist. She's a public speaker, talking about atomic living, gender equality in music. You may have recognized her, you may recognize her as the touring drummer for M.I.A, or maybe even drumming for Kehlani or Thievery Corporation. And as the iconic free bleeding runner at the 2015 London Marathon, running for breast cancer care, raising thousands of dollars, bleeding freely to combat period stigma around the world, sparking a viral conversation about how we treat menstruation in various cultures. And recently, she was selected for the Forbes Under 30 list for the 2019 class of innovators who are revolutionizing the music industry and literally shaking shit up. Alongside folks like Sid of the internet, Jessie Reyes, Billie Eilish, Greta Van Fleet, Grace Vanderwall, as well as some names like 21 Savage, country artist Kane Brown, Post Malone, and Lil Pump. And she now writes music that elevates and celebrates the female voice. Her EP Voices is out now on all digital platforms, and her song The Future is Female charted on the Spotify US Viral Charts Top 50. And she also recently released her single Bad Habits, which is an uplifting Fela Kuti inspired percussive electronic Afrobeat anthem about being your best self. It was co-produced by her, as well as the Dallas up-and-comer Zach Witness, who produced Erykah Badu's But You Can't Use My Phone. And Bad Habits is a music video that features an all-female, femme-led cast and crew. You may have also seen her modeling for Vogue magazine and Balenciaga or Gap's software denim campaign. Or you may have seen her in Adidas Women Meet the Creator series, which is a celebration of inspirational women forging their own paths and empowering others from around the globe, changing the game in their cities. Yes, I'm out of breath because you are that dope. And she was also in Lifetime's Fempire Moments. You may have even seen her addressing the United Nations about Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equality. She's the shit. And just in case you weren't totally convinced just yet, she also got her master's at Harvard, from Harvard Business School. Big shit there, and got her MBA there, as well as her BA from Georgetown in mathematics, political science, as well as women's studies. She's done work at Interscope Records for 2 years as their very first digital analyst, studying patterns in Spotify streams before Spotify, when they became available in the US from Sweden, as well as YouTube views as to advise artists on how to release strategies. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to y'all Kiran, Madam Gandhi! Woo!
You have so much. Thank you so much for that very generous introduction. As you're reading all of these
accolades and credentials. I was also like good human, kind-hearted.
Yes.
you
Well,
know,
all of that
hardworking.
is laced in
No, I'm
dopeness.
like, it's so interesting because I feel like part of the Indian parenting culture is always about like what your achievements are and your accolades, and it's like my brother and sister and I talk a lot about, which is obviously that we want to be productive with our lives, but we also want to kind of undo a bit of that programming to like
Absolutely.
constantly be achieving the next thing and actually be a little bit more self-aware of like, do people fuck with you? Like, are
Yeah.
you a cool person?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
when you leave, does your barista miss you? Do
Yeah.
people notice when you're not in the boxing gym? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I've been definitely kind of shifting my life a little bit in the past couple of years and just thinking like, how do I make sure that yes, I'm moving the needle on gender equality and I'm pushing forward and using all the resources that I have
Yeah.
and reaching my fullest potential, but at the same time like being the best human that
Absolutely.
I can be, you know, and
Absolutely.
peaceful and meditative and self-aware.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in order to do all of that, there's a level of dopeness that comes with that. Because not just anyone is going to do all of that. And that's literally like a little bit of everything mixed into one. Like that's fly as fuck. Like that's, I mean, dopeness, I mean, you're just a genuine, dope, beautiful person.
Likewise.
Yeah,
We find
that's-
each other.
yeah,
That's how it works. We
yeah.
find each other in the boxing gym.
Well, and you know, it's so crazy, okay? So this is, before we go on with the interview, I have to admit something, okay? And she's looking a little shocked right now. I might need to take a sip of my drink. Okay, so when I saw you at the gym, and I was like, oh, like, that's dope, blah, blah, blah. And then City of Angels, they gave you a shout out. And then I went to your page, and I was like, oh shit, I'm already following her. And I was like, no fucking way. That, I remember when I added you. It was directly after going to an M.I.A. concert with my mother.
Wow.
She drugged me to the show. She's like, the person I was gonna go with, my cousin, had flaked on her, and she was like, "Want to come with me?" She knows I love music.
Wow.
I love live music,
Was it
especially.
the one in downtown LA?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Was it Belasco?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yep.
was.
Yeah.
And that show was
Yeah.
crazy because
That was
we
nuts.
had an accounting exam at
Yeah.
Harvard the next day. I was touring with M.I.A. while I
Yes.
was in school.
That's
And
insane.
you're not allowed to do that. You know,
Yeah.
Harvard takes their like students super seriously because they don't want people running businesses on the side.
Yeah.
And so I didn't tell them that I was still touring.
That's
and so
insane.
what I would do is like I would leave on like Friday at 2 p.m. and
Yeah.
then come back right Monday at 6 a.m. and like make it right in time for class. But that particular show was a Thursday. And
Yeah.
so I flew out Wednesday night from Boston, came to LA to play that Thursday night show,
Yeah.
and didn't even finish playing the final song, which is Paper Planes.
Yeah.
Because my friend was in the back alley of the theater
Uh-huh.
to take me to LAX on the 11:30 p.m. Red Eye.
Yes.
So that I can be in Boston for my Friday
That's
accounting
insane.
exam.
That, you were about that life.
I really,
Yeah.
you know what? I was kind of like, these things are important to me. I want to
Yeah.
nourish my brain and become even more established as a music industry thinker and a
Yeah.
business mind. But touring for literally my favorite artist has been a dream of mine since I was a kid, practicing the
Yeah.
drums.
Yeah.
And when the goddesses give you the
Yeah.
thing that you're praying for,
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to protect it with your whole heart, you
Yeah.
know? So I would just try to do both at the highest level possible without them like combusting on themselves.
Yeah.
And somehow I got through that semester, you know, without getting kicked out of the band or
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
And I managed to graduate. But that show was very special to me because my friend was like my real ride or die in
Yeah.
the back alley. She's like, we gotta go. If you want to miss this flight. It was like 10:30. We had an hour. Yeah.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
Because and I was around that time, like, because I used to work with a band back in the day. It was like an up and coming band. So I'm like always very critical about like musicianship, showmanship, like, all of that. And when I saw you play, that blew me away. I was like, she's dope as fuck. I have to add her on Instagram. Because I like M.I.A., but I wasn't like, I'm going to go out of my way, go get tickets,
Right.
and go to the show.
Right.
So glad I went. It's so
fun.
crazy. It's like low-key giving me goosebumps right now. But like seeing you play, and I don't know if it was kind of like the stage direction, but for y'all that did not go see that tour, your drum kit was actually to the side.
Yep. And
It was
sideways.
it was sideways to the audience.
Yep.
So we saw you, but Kiran Madam Gandhi is a fucking badass. Like she was standing, she was dancing, she was playing, like, she was on that hard rock, Afro punk, like, life.
And I had a super, super long curly fro.
And that's what threw me off when I saw you at the gym. I was like, that's what it was. She had long black hair, headbanging, like,
you know, my hair's like short and yellow now, but
she was like, her hair was like on some slash.
Looks like Alex's hair from the gym, from the boxing gym.
The
owner of the boxing gym has wild black curly hair.
Exactly.
Yeah, I loved it. But I also think maybe it's like that Pisces in me. Like, you want to keep evolving, reinventing, destroying, and starting afresh. That's also what really drew me to M.I.A.'s work, because she talks a lot about, like, making something and then destroying it and making it again, almost like as a self-test. Like, can you keep doing it? And that's what got me running, actually, when I was in business school in my second year in Boston. I was kind of like, what's next? Like, what inspires you? And I used to feel like, wow, all the people who are like running in the snow, like, that's a badass, honest, sincere accomplishment, you know? And I couldn't run. I could barely run 1 mile. So I wouldn't even tell anybody. I would just like start practicing, and like if I couldn't make it, I would just like Uber myself home. Like, who knows? You know? But I think there's something important for each of us to like just keep reinventing ourselves and not get stuck in a pattern. That's important to me.
For sure. And before we go any further, as Midori has gingerly reminded me, we do have to do a little bit of order of business. So we are here on location at your place. So thank you for having us.
Pleasure.
And this has been dope. We got some coffee, been chilling, did the promo, sweating, all that good stuff. So your drink of choice was water. And mine is some Allagash Curio.
That's perfect.
Any particular reason why you chose water?
I mean, Jamila, it is 11 a.m. So you have a good you have a good grasp on things. No, I think that's a good question. I feel like I will have a glass of wine or a beer every now and then, and I think I will have a little bit of this delicious beer that you've given us.
Nice.
But I think like I don't have before I perform, for example, I never have a drink in my own show. I've always performed sober, and I also don't allow anyone who's performing on the stage with me to have a drink before, and they know that. So if that's not something that someone's comfortable with, I totally respect that, but they have to know that's what this project is about. And I think it's on a couple of levels. Like, I love having a glass of wine or a sip of beer if I'm like in super good company and it's like I have nothing going on the next day and I can really let my guard down almost. But I'm so sensitive to alcohol, I always wake up the next day with a hangover. Even if it's like a glass and a half, it's so annoying. But I always do. And I think when I was training for the marathon, one thing that I learned was like, whoa, I have to actually stop drinking altogether if I want to take this training seriously. And there was something special about feeling like I had something to protect. I had something worth not drinking for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But like I like testing myself. It's the same theme of breaking something down and reinventing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're going to go to the first game, which is probably going to be our only game. And we apologize if any audio is kind of funky. We're still a small mama pop shop. So here's Midori with the first game. We're going to play Drinkquisition. Like the Inquisition, but Drinkquisition.
This is so fun. I've never played it. I don't think I've ever played a drinking game.
Really? This is awesome.
I think like I played beer pong in freshman year once at Georgetown and then immediately like rejected it because it had like the really bro-y white male kind of energy to it, so it didn't feel fun. But I don't think I've ever played an official drinking game. This is cool.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm glad we could do it on Jampacked.
Well, there's 3 parts to this game. So this part that we're going to play is called Common Knowledge. So the first question that you guys can both answer, and then usually we take a drink if you get it wrong, and then I ask a fun fact about you. Okay. So the first question is, which is heavier, 2,000 pounds of bricks or a ton of feathers?
Who's going first?
Oh, okay. Wait, okay. I'm sorry. What was that again?
Which is heavier, 2,000 pounds of bricks or a ton of feathers?
Oh, a ton, obviously, because it's a ton.
A ton.
It's just a ton versus 2,000. It doesn't matter of what.
I'm gonna go with a ton.
It's a weight. It could be a ton of flowers, a ton of anything, a ton of people.
Why
but
would
it's a
you
ton.
ask her a math thing?
It's a logic thing.
She was sitting
It
there
is a
thinking
logic
though.
I was thinking.
Well, yeah. I
Yeah.
figured if you ask that question, it's gonna be probably.
It could
the
be
feathers,
2,000
yeah.
pounds of anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus a ton of
A
anything.
ton,
The
yeah.
phrasing of the question is what's
Yeah.
the tricky part.
Yeah, so the answer is they weigh the same. They both weigh 2,000 pounds.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, so
Okay.
ton by definition is 2,000 pounds. Is that what it is? Makes sense. Okay,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we both were clear of that, but I'm gonna go ahead and take a drink anyway. Cheers.
cool. We
Salud.
knew what a ton was, so now we know.
Yeah. Is a ton of feathers.
So they weigh the same.
Yeah. That's dope. The more you know. All right. Next question.
Let me ask you a different question.
Let's do it one person at a time.
All right, sure. How many islands make up Hawaii?
I think like maybe 18.
Ooh.
I went with a low number.
The answer is 8.
8.
Oh. You gotta take a drink.
So close.
I was like, technically, yeah, the islands are small, so maybe 18.
Well, honestly,
like,
I was
might-
thinking of it like there's probably 4 or 5 main islands, and then I was thinking like with Polynesia or with Tahiti, there's
Yeah.
many tiny islands. I just don't know if they're counted an official part of the
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm glad you taught me that because I'm going to Hawaii in 10 days.
Oh, that's awesome.
So now
Okay.
I know 8.
Hey, 10 days. That's gonna be awesome. Where in Hawaii going?
Oahu.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Where you going? Don't you have to ask a fun fact?
I feel like you were going with a fun fact with the Hawaii thing, so I was letting you do.
Oh, no, do your thing. I don't want to step. I stay in my lane.
questions. Get back to you.
Oh, you like these questions?
Because I'm learning.
Yeah, me too. I was just like, oh, I need to write this down.
Okay, I'll ask one more question.
Okay.
How many states border the Gulf of Mexico?
This is great. This is great. This is great how little I know. This is so great.
Let's
The Gulf
see.
of Mexico.
And it'd be worse if you guys were like actually drunk and drinking, which is why this game would be fun.
I'm drinking. I'm drinking. About that like 11 o'clock in the morning. The Gulf of Mexico, you say?
Louisiana, Florida, Texas.
I'm gonna just. You say 8,
3.
3? I'm gonna say 5. 5.
Five.
Is it really?
Nice.
Oh shit! Oh shit! I'm feeling really.
The 5 states. I didn't
No.
any of them. Wisconsin, Texas, Florida, Louisiana, and then Georgia, maybe. Mississippi, Arkansas. Mississippi.
Starts with A.
Alabama. Yeah.
That's dope.
Good to know.
Yeah, for sure. Growing up playing drums, I mean, what was that moment for you where you were like, I want to play drums for like the rest of my life?
I think it was just playing and like feeling like I had access to spaces that I never had before, like being able to go to see a band or like in a restaurant or a bar or whatever with my family, and then my dad would always be like, oh, my daughter plays drums, which in the beginning would be super embarrassing.
Yeah.
But the people in the band, because I was super young and because I guess I was a girl and they thought the whole thing was endearing, I would always get invited to play, you know, whether it was just sitting in on congas and bongos or shaking a tambourine or playing the actual drum set. I felt like I got a lot of validation through my playing, and
Yeah.
it really built up my confidence and gave me a strong sense of self, and I think that's the part that makes me to this day stick with it.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect, and then there's also the second point would be like feeling like I always have something to contribute. Like I really wanted to collaborate with Kehlani, and I reached out to her. She was an audience member in my show and DM'd me after my set at San Francisco Pride in 2017. She was so legit of her.
Nice.
And she was like, I really loved what you were saying on that
Yeah.
stage, sis. Like, thank you for your work.
Yeah.
And I would love to collaborate with you at some point. And we didn't really know what that would look like. You know, does that mean, are we going to do a song together? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah.
Then I saw that she was playing LA Pride, and I just DM'd her and I said, you know, I would love to play percussion for you at
Yeah.
Pratt. I've seen you've never had a percussionist before, which
Yeah.
is just how I approached M.I.A.
Yeah.
So it sort of allows me as a musician to be a contributor instead of just simply a taker.
Yeah.
You always bring to somebody, I say, oh, you're DJing, maybe I can jam on djembe while you're DJing, or something like that. Or
Yeah.
even at Soul Cycle, I've been DJing these Soul Cycle classes.
Really?
Playing percussion. Once at the boxing gym, Michelle did a class, she played salsa music.
I
drums.
saw that and I was
Yeah.
so mad I missed that
We'll do it
class.
official. We'll do it
I was,
official.
okay, you have to let me know. I was so sad.
We'll do one in December, like
Okay.
an official concert.
Okay.
So,
I
like,
saw it and I
we'll
was
do
like, you've got to be kidding me.
But I bought some drums for the boxing gym.
Nice.
So I think that's the second reason. Maybe quickly, the third reason I would say is definitely the meditative aspect. Like, there's definitely days that I've come home and I just like dim out all the lights in the loft and just play with the street lights, you know, coming
Yeah.
from the windows, and it's just so empowering to have something that's wholly your own and for nobody else. And performing is really different than just playing drums for yourself.
Yeah.
When I play drums for myself, I get like lost in it and I'm
Yeah.
thinking about other stuff, but
Yeah.
playing simultaneously, it's
Yeah.
very, very a great feeling.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. That's because you also start your day with like meditation and what is it about meditation that kind of gets you going and gets you focused on the day?
See, if you read that bio to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
one person might say that's an amazing bio. Somebody else say she sounds a little confused. You know, someone might say that sounds a little schizophrenic. You know, and I think for me, I've always been inspired by different things. I love to process and see something and be like, oh, running, that's amazing. I want to run. Oh, boxing, that's so cool. I want to box. And I think that's part of my desire to like engage with my life and live to the fullest extent and like live to my fullest potential.
Yeah.
But at the same time, someone might criticize it and say you sound very unfocused, and that's definitely something that I've heard in my life from my dad and from people in school. So my meditation is about focusing. It's about me quieting a lot of the distractive voices in my head, which are overzealous about a lot of things, which can be beautiful. But as you move through life, it's important to make sure that you're developing your own skill sets. And so my meditation is a mixture of breathing exercises and stretches like yoga. And then what I do is I go through my day and I visualize like what's going to happen in each of those interactions. And I do that because I want to make sure I'm bringing my best self to those interactions, and like I almost kind of like pre-predict what's going to happen, and then I feel focused. And I also kind of do that with like, I don't do a long to-do list. I do 3. I'm like, what are 3 things that like would be awesome if they got done by the end of the day? And just by setting that mental intention, it like gets done. And so that's why I like to meditate in the morning. And then the evening meditation is different. It's much simpler. It's more focused on gratitude and like self-affirmation. Like awesome things from the day.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like, you mentioned your dad, and that's got to be a lot of pressure, like being in your shoes and your family, like even growing up. Obviously we did a very deep dive, but your dad being a businessman, your mom is in the philanthropic world. She's got her nonprofit, and your sister is a poet. And that's gotta be a lot of pressure. And your mom went to Harvard as well, like.
My father.
Oh, okay. Your dad went to Harvard, and like that's gotta be a lot. Like, how do you?
My sister is Kanika. She actually is in food sustainability and agriculture. And the poet you're thinking of is Rupi Kaur.
Okay.
And Rupi is a very talented poet who was in the menstrual health and hygiene space for a minute because she wrote about women's equality and about bleeding. And so a lot of people who were looking at this sort of growing menstrual equity movement compared the fact that Rupi had written this poetry and done a whole Instagram visual series, and I had just done my run. So people were looking at how like South Asian women are like leading the pack when it comes to having this conversation. So that's Rupi. She's a very talented young artist out of Toronto. And we
like a Canadian poet, and I was like, wait, is that her sister?
I know,
like,
she's not my sister, but she's
a lot of people
she's
compare
one
the two.
Definitely. And then my younger brother is a senior now at Harvard, and he's getting ready to start a job in New York. So it's true. I think when I was younger, that's when the pressure was there, and I'm grateful for it because my parents have really different parenting styles, and I feel like the exact byproduct of both of them. I really do, because my father is like a Taurus, and he's like on the earth, and he's like, what's next? What's the next goal? What's the next thing? Actually, he's so sweet. I didn't tell him about Forbes 30 under 30, but he's actually the person who would have like cared about that the most. And I should have told him. It's just that I didn't want to keep this thing going of like you get love from your parents when you like do something that's like an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I'm like,
yeah.
my brother and sister and I are like trying to break that pattern.
Yeah.
And he was so loving about it when he found out. He was like so excited. He's telling everybody.
Yeah.
So I think now my dad is a little bit more self-aware of the problem of that feedback mechanism.
Yeah.
He's like slowed down a little bit and more
That's
is like, how
good.
can I help you? How can I support you? He even was here a couple of days ago for Thanksgiving, and he was so lovely at dinner. And he was just like, bad habits is great.
Yeah.
Put your efforts towards promoting bad habits. It's like not enough people have seen bad habits. Like
It's not only an awesome song, but an awesome video.
Thank you.
I can just sit there and just watch the music video. And not even like for the podcast purposes, but I've just watched it. Like as soon as you put on your Insta story that it was up and available, and I don't know what I was doing or where I was going, but I watched it.
Thank
and
you.
I was like, this is really dope. This is really fly. Like it was everything that I think the world needs, and your dad has a point. You don't promote it a lot, you know. You don't.
It's
and
true. It's just exhausting. But when my dad like focuses my energy, I always take it really seriously. Because back in the day, he was the one when I was at lunch once, was like, it would be so cool to drum for M.I.A. He sat right up, why can't you drum for M.I.A.? Like he put that in my mind.
I love that.
And he was there when I crossed the finish line of the marathon, and so I feel like every time my dad focuses my energy, it's like probably the thing that I take the most seriously, and it just helps me so much. And then on my mom's side, my mom has a really different parenting style. My mom is really not focused on what's the next achievement. She's like, are you happy in this moment? Are you grateful for this moment? Are you grateful for this friendship? Are you grateful for this interaction? Are you present? Are you dialed in? Are you aware? What are you wearing? What are you drinking? Who's around? Like, what are the people's names? You know, she is far more spiritual in that way. And it's really liberating. It's really liberating to have both. It really is. It allows me to participate on this earth, but then also, like, not take it too seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I read somewhere that, this was in my deep dive research, but your mom had given you such simple words of wisdom, and it was to be happy and find joy in the music process and the writing process.
Definitely.
Like, how did that make you feel to, like, have your mom just be like, yo, just enjoy the moment, enjoy this shit?
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy. It's really, it's almost like two completely different styles of programming. So even when you say it just now, I'm like, one go to relief, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my god, but when's the next thing coming out? You know, and sometimes I never feel like I'm doing enough because you want to do things at a bigger level, and that's definitely the more masculine father energy. Like, the masculine energy is like dominate, do things at a big level, have huge impact, have huge income, all these kinds of things. Look at like the Kanye West of the world, the Trumps. I feel like that's like the most masculine you can get. Like super like dominating, like big impact.
Exactly.
And I feel like the femme is like, can you keep your plants alive in your home? Can you like, do you bring like good loving energy to everything that you do? Is there love infused in the work that you're doing, in the speeches that you're giving, and the people that you're meeting with? And are you dialed into the community? Do you have impact in your immediate sphere of influence? And that is so important to me because that's why I go down to Skid Row. That's why I did the voting party. That's why I volunteer 10 minutes away at the juvenile hall teaching DJ classes. That's immediate impact on a small, local, grassroots scale.
And that brings several great points. But like for y'all that didn't have the honor of being, thank you so much for refilling my glass. You know, for those of you that didn't have the privilege of being invited or coming to such an awesome space.
Everyone was invited.
The private jam session voting party here, like right here. It was literally in this entire space. You had performances. You had Patrice, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter. Like you had everybody here, and you had he was a representative, super young dude.
Yes, on the ballot.
And he was here, like speaking to the people, like really doing like that guerrilla, like grassroots shit.
It was honest.
Yeah.
People felt that, and I think the best part about the voting party was like, I wanted education around the voting process to be fun and accessible in the same way when you go to a concert, you're like dialed in and having a good time. I want to feed everybody healthy, vegan, local, female-made food and female-owned wine.
Yes. And the wine was dope.
The wine was delicious, and it was just showing like we have a choice with which businesses we support. And so I tend my best, whether it's clothing, shoes, food, etc., to support women-owned businesses or queer-owned, black-owned businesses. And the best part about it was this moment where we were debating Proposition 10 on the ballot, and 2 to 3 different people actually had the bravery to raise their hand and kind of say what that prop meant to them, and also what the sort of stakes were in the moment. And I thought that was really honest. That's what a town hall should be. It should be each of us educating each other and kind of explaining on a really personal level what's at stake.
And it was such a beautiful space, though. Like, it was such an awesome, inviting thing. Like, it was really cool.
I get that from my mom, and I think that's really important, because I've walked into so many spaces where I might think I'm like the most confident person, and immediately my confidence shuts down when I feel like an outsider in a space. And so one thing I watched my mom do when we were growing up is like she was always just like, oh my god, and you're here, and you're here, oh my god, and have you met this person, and she would just make people feel really seen. And whether it was one person or 600 people, she is really good at that. And so I've definitely adopted that, because I know how it makes me feel when someone makes me feel welcome somewhere. And I wanted others to feel that way in my home.
It was so cool. It was packed in here.
It was packed.
Jam-packed in here. It was ass to elbows, good vibes, beautiful people. Like, it was just, I wish, and I was telling them that I wish there was something like that more often in the community and in the city that was readily available for people to really just vibe out with each other. It was music, speeches,
over
like
time,
encouragement.
I will start taking it more seriously. Michelle, my partner, who you know, our instructor at the boxing gym, she's super supportive.
Shout out
to the beautiful Boxer Bay.
Boxer Bay.
She's always like, you should run. But it's funny, because when we first started hanging out, she would always tell me that she wants to run. So there's definitely, we both share a passion to want to invest in our communities and take whatever education and passion and privilege that we've been given in our lives and bring it back to the community. That's very, very important. And I think starting in the grassroots and like being really dialed into what's happening is super important. And honestly, I feel kind of critical every time I go back east and back to Harvard. It's just people are so disconnected from what reality is. And also, I'm self-aware that I also in my own way am disconnected, but I try my best to go into Skid Row, to go into the Downtown Women's Center, to go into the juvenile hall, to go into women's prisons, and understand what it means to have to trade to get a tampon to take care of yourself that day. To be able to say, you know, I went to these boys. Sorry, I know I'm going on and on. But
no, it's all good. We're here for it. We're here for it.
I told everybody about my time at the juvenile hall, because I came back and I was just like crying to Michelle for like an hour and a half, because I was so humbled. But I was with the boys, and they had such a great time DJing, and I was like really fucking with them and like really pushing them. And they were pushing me, and it was wonderful. And there was this moment where they said to me, and we have it good in here. We have it good. You haven't been down the hall. We have it good in here. We have desks. We have desks. We have colorful posters on the wall. We have it good in here. This is actually of the good boys. This is the one. This is us being our best. Then we get promoted to this particular juvenile hall. And I was so humbled, because there was this strong sense of like self-awareness of privilege within that world at such a young age. And I was like, this is fucking amazing. This is fucking badass and positive. You know, and I had to watch the boys, because we had to have a hard stop at 8, because that's when the guards put the boys back into each of their rooms. And it was very, very tough for me to see the guards, even though the guards were like big brothers to the boys. They were nice with the boys, not aggressive.
They were still.
They're locking the boys back into their cells. I want to use the word cages, but I can't even use that word because it makes me feel so.
But that's basically the way that it looked, though. Like, that was.
It is. But all of that to say, being dialed into what's going on is really important to me, and I would love to keep hosting events like this.
Let me know if I have to promote it, or just let me know what I need to do. I'll be here, though. Like, I mean, growing up, playing the drums, what kind of sexism did you experience? Because I know fun, weird fact, and I don't think I've ever mentioned this, is I used to play or attempted to play the drums when I was younger, like in middle school.
Cool.
But there were other guys as well that wanted to play the drums in the school band.
And so they give it to the boys.
Gave it to the boys. They were ripping up the snare. And I was like, okay, so I literally had the bass. So I was just like, bong, 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 dong, 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 bong, dong, dong. Like it was, and then the cymbals. Like my mom loves joking about me playing the cymbals because it was like,
yeah, it's so funny. I know, I see it all the time. I heard that too, and I think it's how I felt about being in business school. It has nothing to do with drumming, but like many spaces that we live in and that we're in, they prioritize loudness and aggression over emotional intelligence. And so the person who comes in who's more aggressive about wanting something or believing in something, that's the voice that gets heard. Yeah. And that's very frustrating for me. Yeah. And so in business school, it's ironic because they're teaching all of us to like own our voice and confidently say our truth. But the energy and the environment in the room is more often than not siding with the person who's very aggressive with what it is they have to say. And that's rarely been my style. I like to lead with my own love energy and with logic, but like peacefully, not like aggressively. And so that story that you say is what I think a lot of young people and young women experience. The boys get what they want because they're more aggressive with it. And in terms of sexism, I would say the one main kind of sexism that I see, and even to this day, that I personally suffer from, is not what you would think. It's actually that because we are women or femmes or like less represented, people have such a low expectation of us that literally me like fucking hitting a snare and like hitting a cymbal, everyone's just like, wow, this is amazing.
They're like, oh my gosh, this girl is really ripping it up.
Exactly. And so then it almost, I feel like I kind of as a kid exploited that a little bit in the sense of I knew that me being female drumming was like almost enough. That sometimes it allowed my own like Piscean laziness to kick in, where I didn't even feel motivated to get to that next level. Now many women experience it differently. They want they don't want to experience that like, oh, you're good for a girl. They really want to prove the bar that they're better than all the men. And obviously I really respect that. I just wish it wasn't so gendered. I just wish that we could, that I was valued for the fact that like I mix things up really well, or that like I build drum kits that are super eclectic. Like, the way that I express myself on the drums is very similar to how I speak. It's very like percussive. Or your fills are so thoughtful. And it's so interesting that you say that because it's like, even no joke, I would ask for a drum kit every fucking Christmas for years. I had to get a baby drum kit. I know, now I'm gonna have to get my own, but like I would ask, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just the noise. Maybe they just don't want to hear my noise. That's fine. And then I changed it up. I would change it up and say, okay, what if I get an electronic drum set? Right, it's in my ears.
Right, it's just in my ears. It's only my sound, and that's it. And they'd be like, no. And like, it was so interesting because my dad, as much as he was ready to support me and be supportive of his baby girl or his daughter, like it was still this, I'm still not gonna have this girl playing the drums. Like I have the most craziest ideas, you support everything except for me getting a drum set. It's
I mean, even my grandparents are Indian and they're very supportive of everything, but when I told them that I was boxing and loving boxing, they said, oh, that's very masculine of you. You know, it's just, I think there is this desire to preserve gender roles. There's a desire to have a super girly daughter, but I don't think that being super girly has ever benefited us unless you're participating in the sort of patriarchal expectations of what women are supposed to be.
Yeah. What would you tell the young men, you know, growing to maybe soon be fathers or just like respectable young men? What would you tell them? Like, how would you encourage them to do better?
Well, I think one of the first steps that I've noticed is that like a lot of people in positions of privilege, even white women, even you know, obviously men with male over female privilege or being this sort of cis white male that they might be, but of any race too. Anyone who's in a position of privilege, one of the biggest mistakes that I think they make is not even believing that the stories of the oppressed are true. and gaslighting those who have experienced some sort of prejudice of whatever kind in their life that holds them back, and not believing that it's even real. And I find that even with my younger brother, and he's on his journey, and he has like his super feminist days, and then he has his super like problematic days. And it's really helpful for me to actually watch him go through that, because I then learn what's happening in reality. And the worst thing that I see is when Kabir, my younger brother, tries to convince somebody that the criticism that they're making of society isn't true, or isn't real, or isn't honest, you know. And I think we see a lot of people who might have experienced immigration trauma, or trauma with having a certain disability, or trauma with being a varying gender identity, or about someone in a community of color, etc., talking about systemic oppression, and those in a position of privilege not believing it. So I think that's where I would give that advice, is like, you need to listen twice as much as you speak. You don't need to convince somebody that their experiences aren't true. You don't need to convince somebody that they'll be all right, you know. And I think instead it's about being self-aware of how your simple actions might be contributing to the oppression of somebody else.
That's dope. I mean, I don't, and just to kind of shift gears a little bit, I don't want to spend too much time, just because you speak about it a lot in your public speaking, and there's millions of videos of you speaking about it, but I do want to touch on it a little bit, is the period stigma around the world. And you know, you caused quite a ruckus.
Quite a ruckus, mate.
in London. Yeah, cheers to that. Cheers to shaking shit up. You ran the London Marathon bleeding freely.
Yes.
In that moment, I mean, I know you were like, well, I could use a tampon, a period, or a pad, all that good stuff. But you're like, fuck it. Like, I'm not going to do that. And they don't have, there's some countries that don't have that kind of access to these products.
Even in this country, that's the thing. Even for me, like, part of my own education is realizing, like, it's not even about India or parts of Africa. It's like about our backyard. Like, women in the prison system, people who are homeless on the streets, those in low-income communities. I traveled to the UK, and I went up to Leeds, which is just north of London. I took a train, and I learned that many of the girls over there are experiencing a lack of access to products because they can't afford it, because they literally, tampons and pads and whatever cost couple bucks that the family just can't budget for. And the stigma runs so deep that the kids don't feel like they can ask for the products they need. So the stigma prevents people from improving the finances around it, from combating the oppressive luxury tax that makes the products expensive to begin with. And then also the innovation. Like, if people don't think it's a problem because no one's talking about it, then no one's going to make better products. In the past 3 years alone, however, we've seen far more female-identifying innovators take up the burden of starting companies that make better products. And when I say better, I mean things like Dear Kate or Things, which are underwear for your period, which are thicker and they collect whatever it is that you're going through. And then organic products, tampons and pads that are made of organic cotton, as opposed to all of the carcinogenic products that we see, menstrual cups, etc. So these are sort of the conversations that we're having. But the number one is to get everybody talking about it. Like, I think it's fucking cool that trans men and women and people who bleed, our bodies are tied to the moon. It's the fucking coolest thing. We're the original timekeepers. Like, are you kidding? And that when I'm off, when I see the moon, and it's a new moon because that's when my cycle comes, and I don't have a period, I'm able to just look at the sky and like have this connection and be like, whoa, am I eating right? Am I stressed? Am I sleeping? Why am I not super on time? And I don't know, I just think it's fucking cool.
What do you think it is about having a period that makes people so uncomfortable to talk about it?
I think the number one, unfortunately, is just that women have always been bred to be sexually consumable to men. And I think that we are valued for our looks, whereas men get to be valued for their skill sets. And so then a period is not something that is sexually attractive, that's, you know, sexually consumable, that's hot, whatever. And also we have this weird obsession with female youth. And so there's also like an underlying thing of that. That's why we're bred to shave our legs and to be obsessed with products that make us look younger. The irony of the whole thing is like, go for a run. That shit makes you look young. Eat some green leaves.
Exactly.
Go have a nice 8 hours sleep.
Exactly.
Don't
How
drink
much you
much.
eat clean.
Don't smoke. Like all of these things. Like the human body is amazing.
Exactly. It really is.
It's amazing.
It truly
the human
is.
body wants us
Yeah.
to maintain our youth so that we can reproduce. That's the human body wants that.
Yeah.
And it's actually all of these other things that we add on that slows the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's
Even
very
yesterday, Michelle and I were going for a soul cycle class, and the instructor, they always say this, which is like, we're out here, we're undoing all the turkey that we ate for Thanksgiving, and we're undoing all of the alcohol that we drank, and it's like, no, we shouldn't be drinking that shit to begin with. You know? It's like that. So here we are having a beard, but
exactly. It's Jampacked, so we make an exception for it. I mean, you ran the marathon uncomfortably for 23 miles. Like, what kept you?
26.2.
26.2
is a marathon.
Like, what kept you going though? Of like, okay, let me just find a tampon real quick, or let me just find a cup or a pad or something. Like, what kept you going in that moment? In those moments, I should say.
I honestly thought it was badass. I think for me, as I mentioned earlier, I'd love for the theme of this podcast and this interview to definitely be like breaking things down and like purposely testing yourself to see what your limits are. And for me, my cycle has always been very painful on my first day for whatever reason. And now it's actually a lot better, but 3 years ago it was definitely quite painful and uncomfortable. So I was like, how am I gonna run a marathon? I barely can make it to class, bike to class. Like I'm so uncomfortable. And I kind of wanted to just see what would happen. I kind of wanted to just see how far I could go. And I had trained for a year, and so it would have been devastating if I couldn't have crossed that finish line. And I just thought it was fucking like on some punk rock. To like bleed from anywhere. Right?
Listen, you have proven to the world you are like extra punk rock. Like,
very loving.
I would have been making
Scorpio,
like
right?
No, Sagittarius.
Oh, Sagittarius.
So probably
Michelle
even more
texted me that you're a
ignorant.
Scorpio.
She doesn't even know my sign.
She doesn't know shit.
My prison. But like,
you.
I would have been making like makeshift pads, like just until I could get to a resourceful place.
Fuck everyone. Like that's how I felt. I was like, I have a marathon to run. Like fuck everybody. And I'll add one other interesting nuance, which is like after the fact when the story went viral, the most problematic thing that I saw online, because I was really analyzing, I had like my own personal self, which was like, whoa, this is a lot, but then I had like my analytical self, which was like, let me like survey what's going on with all this conversation. And I thought it was really interesting that unfortunately all of the men had to keep being like, that's like me defecating while I'm running, it's disgusting. And another guy was like, that's like me ejaculating while I'm running, that's disgusting. And I'm like, wow, first of all, you ejaculating would be like me ejaculating. Like women have orgasms.
You gotta stop and come. Like that's so
like that's true, exactly. Or like you defecating would be like me defecating. Like our bodies do that. But men don't have menstruation.
No, not at all.
In order for them to understand
sometimes
that,
we think they do.
You're funny. Emotional flux, but men don't have a menstrual cycle. And I found it really sad that we as a society felt the need to masculinize something in order to legitimize it and understand it. And it's like, no, women bleed, trans men bleed, people who bleed, but you don't have to masculinize it in order to understand it. And that is something that I found really tragic, and I had never thought of before until this story went viral, that unless something is a male need, we don't take it seriously. And that's not okay. Women's bodies are different, and that is fucking awesome. We give birth to the human race, you know? And so that's been part of my work as well, is in saying what does femininity offer and femaleness offer and feminist offer that's aspirational, as opposed to teaching us to catching up to what the men are doing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for you, do you have like some kind of ritual that you do, menstruation ritual or
That's a
anything?
good question. I definitely feel very aware of my cycle. I think like on a daily basis, which is really nice. I feel like I'm super aware of when I like want to have more sex. I feel like super aware of when I'm feeling super moody. Like Michelle definitely knows, and it took us a minute, but like I feel like she's a lot more understanding now, and I feel super self-aware in the sense that I feel empowered to be like, it's embarrassing, but I'm really moody 1 week before my cycle, and I own it now, and I say it out loud now, and we're honest about it. And even I feel like I feel like Michelle has even been more self-aware about her own cycle, and she's more like, I feel really needy now. I feel really like all over the place now. I feel really anxious now, and I'm just waiting for my cycle to come so I can get rid of this. But that hormones are real.
100% real.
And one other thing I'll add about that too is that my personal explanation so far has been kind of like the female body wants to be pregnant. It wants to be pregnant, especially I'm 29 now. Definitely wants to be pregnant.
Yeah.
And when you're about to have a period and you're not pregnant, I feel like the body is sad. It's like horny and sad and like annoyed that it's not pregnant and it wants that but it's not getting that. And I do think it's a bit of the body rebelling against us, unfortunately.
I feel like the body, regardless, is gonna be horny like a little bit
that.
before.
She's like, I'm different, girl.
I'm like, no, I'm like trying to. Yeah, I mean, I understand. Like, I feel like regardless, you're gonna be in the mood. It's like, that time.
It's true.
Let's get it in.
I just think it's just so. It's.
But I do see how they correlate, though, for sure.
I think there's like a science to it, and I think the more female doctors we have, and the more people prioritizing this and talking about it, it becomes more normal as opposed to this like annoying thing that men do, which is like women are crazy, women are moody, blah blah blah. It's like no, it's science.
Yeah.
We have a cycle. These are the dates. It's very straightforward.
Yeah.
It happens like clockwork, at least for me and my body right now. It happens like clockwork, so it's not even out of the blue. Yeah. And we should just make it normal. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. Man,
so no ritual, but definitely self-awareness.
Yeah. No, there's so much self-awareness because I know I get extra irritated and very short with people, like at least a week or two before. Yeah. I'm just like,
And that's also part of the combating the knowledge, because people think that we're moody on our cycle, but actually for everyone I know, the cycle is like the best part. It's like a release. Like immediately my mood switches once it starts. And so I think just like the more we say it out loud, the more other people are like, oh, you go through this too, and it's normal. I had no idea. You know, it's helpful.
I mean, you mentioned the body wanting to have a baby. Like, do you want to have a baby? Do you feel like?
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have a
baby.
baby.
Around, some women kind of envision themselves having a baby by a certain age. Is there like an age or a cutoff age for you that you feel like?
That's such a good question. I think, I don't want to ever participate in like societal oppression, and it's tricky because there's my own radical feminist mind that's like, I want to de-age myself and just say whatever age I am and live my life. But unfortunately, I definitely go through my period, my times of feeling insecure about my age, and I have to reject it. I don't think there's like an age by which I want to have a kid. I mean, maybe in the next 4 to 5 years would be wonderful. After I've put out a couple records and like made some impact, then I would love to have a baby. My mom was a really young mother. She was like 27 when she had me, 26, and that freshness, I definitely think is why I have kind of like the sass that I have today and like the closeness with my mom that I have today, because she would just take me everywhere. She would take me to the gym, even when the old ladies in the gym would be like, you're not allowed to have kids here. I don't give a shit. Like, that's awesome. I'm 27, I need to go on this run, but I also have to take care of my kids, so like, fuck off. And to this day, I think the reason why I make sure that I'm committed to my own health and wellness is because that was like ingrained in me as a kid. And I saw an empowered mom who was doing it. So I don't know if I can have a baby right now. I want to do a little bit more solo, but I would love to have like 2, maybe 3 babies.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Before we officially get out of here, we normally do words of wisdom.
Okay.
What would be your words of wisdom for the people out there listening?
I would say own your voice, don't be afraid. Own your voice, don't be afraid. Because to me, even on social media, like, I definitely prefer to follow accounts of people who are like super vulnerable on their Instagram. Not like attention craving, but just like honest. And so helpful. Like, there was even this one random fitness blogger that I came across on my like random feed.
Nice.
And she was just talking so vulnerably about like just being bloated versus like feeling like you have a super flat stomach, and just things like that. It's so interesting because it's like awkward to talk about, but then you're kind of like, oh, this is so forgiving. Like, oh, it is about the food that we eat or about the part of our cycle that we're on. Even Kehlani, I think she's done such an excellent job about being vulnerable and honest and transparent on her Instagram. Cardi B, the most transparent that we could ever have. She's like, no makeup on Instagram. And
I love it.
Honest,
I love it.
Real.
Yeah.
And that's what we're thirsty for. Is like people being like, no, It's not about glitz and glam. It's not about having you think that I'm amazing. It's about having you know what's real.
Yep.
So I think the more brave we are to own our voice and be honest, like this marathon story that I experienced, you have no idea the power that your vulnerability can be for somebody else.
No, I agree. Midori, you have some words of wisdom for the people.
We usually go through
I love it.
a line.
All right. So. Okay. Well, no. Okay. So I've been going through my stuff, you know, job and school and finishing up stuff, trying to switch careers, and I have to always remind myself to like just take a minute. So I guess my words of wisdom is to like you owe yourself an hour a day of self maintenance. So it can be anything: yoga, reading, exercising, dancing, meditating, singing, anything that you enjoy doing, painting, whatever it is, you own it and you own yourself in that moment. Because an hour is like less than 5% of the whole day. But it matters for your mental health and for the people around you that, you know, that you are around and your own, how you engage with people and, you know, so yeah, that's my words of wisdom, to just take a minute to breathe. Because it matters to step away and reevaluate and come back and finish.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, that's dope. Brooke, you got
Brooke.
I should have been taking notes all through this.
Right?
No,
just re-listen to it.
Bruce not camera ready today. No, but but speaking of which, real quick, I think that the theme or whatever the word of my month is vulnerability. Only because Kiran, madam, you are the third person that Gandhi. You're the like third person that I've heard bring that up, and it's inspiring me to be a little more vulnerable with you all.
Good.
So I have no problem with that, and so I guess my words would be: there's power in vulnerability.
Yes.
There you go.
Amen. Thank you.
Yes.
I like the snapping. Enough people. I feel like that was like a dime. Like people stop snapping this shit. Like I like snapping.
It's very like activist community, like safe
Yeah.
space kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
And I think the clap signals that like you just performed, which is a little bit problematic. It's not that. Snaps is like, oh, like I hear you, I validate you, I give you energy.
Yeah.
Like thank you.
Yeah, exactly. That real namaste.
But that real
yeah.
namaste.
Yeah. That poetic namaste. I guess mine would be kind of taking a little page of your mom's book and a little page of your book, which is, you know, finding happiness in whatever you choose to do and doing it well and giving it your all. You in that space, you may as well give it your all. So if you, in a session, a jam session with someone, give it your all. You're there. You're not going to walk away. Who wants to walk away? You know, if you're in a class, give it your all. If you're on a date, you know, maybe call your friend or something. But give it your all. Try to really feel the person out and like see how it kind of pans out, because you never know. Maybe they're just as nervous as you are. Maybe they're just a little extra nervous. You know, like give them a shot. And before we officially get out, we'll do this part. So how can sorry, I got really excited just now. How can the people reach you before we get out of here?
I think the best would be my Instagram, Madam Gandhi,
Mhm.
and then Twitter, Facebook is all there, and then listen to the music on Spotify.
Especially listen to Bad Habits.
Thank you.
That is my shit.
Thank you.
I'm officially putting it out there. That is my shit.
Thank you.
Yes. How can the people reach you, Midori and Brooke? Whoever wants to go first, we'll cut the part out.
All right. Well, if you're looking for any information on Jampacked, you can contact me at lovedori at jampackedshow.com. So that's LUVDORI at jampackedshow.com.
All right.
And you can reach me at WayUpBrook on Instagram, and I'm starting a new page where you can see my photography and video work. It's called The Way Up Theory at Way Up Theory. So go check it out. I only got one picture up yet, so give me a second. I just literally just started
That's
last night.
cool.
So.
All right, Brooke.
You better get out to you with that, okay? You better go follow Brooke. I don't know if you can still slide in those DMs. Can they still slide in those DMs, Brooke?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay. She's looking for love. You know what? We don't need to rehash the past. This is not Throwback Thursday. Exactly. That was a completely different episode. And I want to personally say thank you for not only doing this show, doing this crazy shenanigan episode, but for also your speech at Berkeley. My little brother Matthew goes to Berkeley, college school of music, and he was completely inspired.
He went to the talk?
He went.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had messaged you, but he went to your talk.
Okay, yeah.
He left me a message and he said, I am totally inspired. And he is a Virgo, and he is all about that bass. Like, he is about, like, his voice, but he's also a creative person, but he's also kind of like, he's really extremely talented, but he's still very, like, hesitant in sharing his music. He'll put stuff up on SoundCloud, like, subtly, and he's got his little fans, but he's still very, like, mindful and conscientious of the stuff that he puts out. And I have to say thank you, because he's very inspired and encouraged, especially after going to your talk. He's feeling knowledgeable and inspired, and he is a Virgo, September Virgo at that. So it's a little difficult to, like, really get shit to really sit with him and resonate with him. So Matthew, if you're listening, shout out to you, Matthew, for going, and thank you for going to thank you for going to Berkeley. And if you'd like to see some of the really dope things that she was talking to the students about, stop competing, start collaborating, say yes to everything, be joyful, stay joyful, detach your ego from your art, all of that good stuff. That was just a little snippet of the cool stuff the cool stuff she's talking about. It's on her blog. Make sure you check her out. Make sure you check us out. We are on everywhere you get your podcasts, so Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, all of that good stuff. And check us out. And Stitcher, yes, thank you, Midori. And check us out on Stitcher as well. And we will see you every Wednesday. And make sure you check us out. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. This is really dope. And I appreciate you taking the time for all of our crazy and shenanigans. Awesome. And we will see you on the next Jampacked. Woo!